played a much stronger role in making sure that stores were open, I guess. But that is President of the United States as it is now. And the fact that the whole world can see that Putin is basically trolling Trump now is not seem to be registering with the president at all. And that is a fact. And so, for instance, when we just experienced this whole extra, I don't know, charade with negotiations, which were clearly just a way that Trump was helping Putin to get out from this ultimatum of sanctions that European leaders were about to throw at Russia. And we went through this show. We got nothing out of it. And now there are sanctions. But Trump did what he could to help and also to further remove himself from the so-called peace process to the point that now we don't even remember how did America get into this really negotiation. So much has happened. And that's part of Trump approach is that there's so much happening all the time that it's hard for us to keep track of what is going on. So I think it's important on this to kind of step back, see the big picture, and understand that these, negotiations or Keith Kellogg or Steve Witkoff or how do all of those characters and different things that they do, they generally fit into this big gold umbrella of Trump wanting to, love Putin so much. There's an interesting problem for Donald Trump, and that is that Vladimir Putin doesn't like America even more than he values Trump. And he doesn't like America for many years, for many decades. Putin has been fighting America. And so now when we have a president who wishes to personify America, because Donald Trump seems to be a parody of Vladimir Putin, who says, his advisors were known to have said, if there is no Putin, there is no Russia. Well, in a parody of that sketch, we see that Donald Trump is trying to personify and be the king of America. And the problem is that he's king of America, and Vladimir Putin doesn't like America. So it's a fundamental problem for Donald Trump, who is trying to get Putin to like him. He should have been a president of some other country that Vladimir Putin doesn't like so much, quite as much. So I think that there's some really interesting fundamental issues that are difficult for Trump to overcome in his desire to prove how much he loves Putin. It's unclear whether he loves him, if this is a platonic love, if this is a financial based, if this is an honor, like he honors the dictator and wants to be like him, like Putin when he grows up. It's not entirely clear. But what is clear is that Trump wakes up every day with a new vision, like nothing happened, like a blank slate, and with the same desires as the night before. He wants to grab a little more and have a little, as Mr. Burns has said in Simpsons, but I would trade it all for a little bit more, for just a little bit more. So he is reminding me of the story of the goldfish, which is not the story that Americans may think of, but the story that Russians know. Pushkin's version of the old lady who was sitting by her broken wash basin, and caught her old man caught a goldfish, and the old woman kept asking goldfish for more and more and more. And in the end, it kind of backfired. To kind of summarize this whole beautiful poem, it backfired. And so when is this trumping around going to backfire, and how spectacularly, and who is going to pay for it, is what we're kind of observing, because we know that everything Donald Trump touches dies. It's been happened to his business 6 times. It happened to Republican Party. It's unfortunately happening to the United States, which is being, clearly under attack. And it's happening, who knows with who that Donald Trump decides to be partners with. In the end, it's bad for Russia even if Donald Trump is your friend. So I think that they've got some relationship issues where neither one of them is perfect, and both of them to a certain extent need each other for now.
And we saw the telephone call between Trump and Putin. It lasted for 2 hours and maybe more, but no results. But is Donald Trump happy about it? Very happy, as I understand from your previous answer.
I would think that Trump is more pleased because, well, he spoke with Putin. So fundamentally, that was a good day for Donald Trump, that Putin took his call. Second of all, 2 hours. I'm sure that Vladimir Putin told Trump all the history of Russia like he always does whenever he talks to anybody. Vladimir Putin seems to be just why? Because he thinks that whole history, it's an interesting point, really. He keeps bringing up all this Russian background to justify the barbaric actions that he and his regime are undertaking today, right? Because it's not just that it's a history for no reason. It's a history as the foundation, explanation for why. And that really, to me, it seems to be one of the worst things that Putin is doing, let's say, to history, because he's perverting everything he touches. And he's perverting history by thinking that history gives him justification to act in a horrible way today. No, history at best is a warning not to act that way today. It's not a permission to act in a certain way. So he's fundamentally just doesn't understand why he's giving this lecture and why people aren't listening. Because it's if you're Donald Trump, then you want to listen to whatever Putin is saying. But if you're Ukraine, it doesn't excuse you from the war right now, which is why probably negotiations between Russia and Ukraine aren't going so well. As we know, as we've heard, that they're not planning on any more direct negotiations between Russia and Ukraine, because Donald Trump needed to talk to Putin so Putin would explain to him, because Donald Trump wanted to know how he's going to get out of this, how this is going to be all sorted out so that Donald Trump could be done with Ukraine. And please, Vladimir, explain to me. And Vladimir explained that he's going to keep doing what he's doing, and Donald should just blame everybody else and get out. Blame Europe. Oh, Europe, it's their fault. And this is not your problem. You just go on your merry way. Maybe, look at Canada over there. So Donald Trump went and said, you know what? I don't think they're ready to make peace. I'm out of here. And you know what? If there's somebody else who wants to deal with this, like Vatican, well, that's perfect. Hand it over to them. You, Vatican, you, Holy See, you do this. And is there a solution yet? Yes, we're all waiting to find out. So he decided to switch from being a performer in the circus to being one of the people sitting in the seats and cheering the clowns on, And it's an interesting attempt to switch positions. And some people will remember, some people will get confused. Some people are going to think about other things that are happening at the same time, then just forget about Donald Trump. But you can't forget about Donald Trump, because even his actions that have to do with, we moved on past the phone call. We're now dealing with him threatening Europe and threatening Apple because he forgot what happened yesterday, that he already made peace with Apple, but he wants another bite of the apple. So he's going at it today. That's Donald Trump that we have. And so there's not going to be another one. So just, I think, kind of moving away from him with the understanding that he's going to be attacking Europe now in an economic way. But once it is officially presumed that he is really with Putin, there's going to be a shift. And I think that's important to understand. The same way that we noticed that there's a distinct shift with the way Donald Trump behaves before and after conviction, the same way that once he becomes kind of расчехлится, when you take off the casing and go, you really are with Putin, aren't you? Then it kind of, I feel, would give him a permission to start acting like he is with Putin, because, it's all clear. Everybody knows it anyway. And in that sense, I think we could be looking at a much more dangerous Donald Trump than we are now. But it is a slippery slope, and it's just a matter of time before he gets there.
Yes, really, we have a lot of jokes today about the sanctions, about tariffs against Europe, because all the senators, Marco Rubio, all European leaders calls Trump to make pressure against Russian dictator, to provide sanctions against Russia. And Trump thought, oh, yes, okay, sanctions, Europe, I understood. And Trump announce about tariffs 50% against Europe. Maybe he didn't understand that Europe sanctions and pressure is not about Europe, but Europe and USA together against Russia.
Maybe he understands better in Russian. Who knows? Maybe just that the message was delivered to him in the wrong language. That's all. He recognized some of the words. It's kind of like when I speak to people who speak Ukrainian. I look for words I recognize. He recognized Europe and tariffs and went with it.